It's the monthly forum for the month of May, and we are 4 minutes past our designated start time. But I do thank you for your time and being here. We'd like to have our monthly forums to inform, to educate, to provide updates on our campaign. And as I have always stated, there's about 95% of the content that's public, and there's about 5% that we like to keep for strategy and for strategic advantage purposes, but we've always have welcomed anyone to take part in our forums that are live and open and mostly transparent. We should have an over the shoulder view, and we don't because I can tell. So let me see if, well, maybe there is an over the shoulder view. Okay. So the first slide that we always present, and we do it in brevity for time purposes, is how I got here. And I would encourage, if you haven't heard the comments on my call to campaign, then I would encourage you to go to YouTube, JMiner50. We also like to have folks to subscribe because we do have content there, and this forum will be in full in that space, so that if you don't want to listen or view on Facebook, you can view it, listen to it on YouTube at a future or later date. And we call this the Good Race Roadmap. And to catch us up to where we're at right now, I'll point your attention to the diamond shaped item 4-20-26. We've submitted our petitions to Montgomery, to Senator Wes Allen's, I'm sorry, Secretary of State Wes Allen's office. And we are thankful for those that have submitted, signed the petitions, those who have worked packets for us to submit our petitions to run as an independent candidate. We're grateful for that. There's so many people, so many names that I don't want to mention in this space because there are way too many from across the aisle, Democratic Party, Republican Party, independents from across the space that have been so kind and generous to help us in gathering signatures to run an independent campaign. And we're waiting on feedback from Secretary of State Wes Allen's office, and we anticipate an official announcement that we have officially qualified to be on the ballot, where you won't have to write in, that you'll be able to vote for us on November the 3rd. Someone that I was at Carrollton Baptist Church this morning, and someone mentioned, Jody, we haven't seen your name on the ballot for May 19th. And I said, no, independent candidates are only on the general ballot and not on the primary ballot, because there's not another independent candidate that we would run against. So again, we're excited. We're awaiting feedback from Secretary of State Wes Allen's office, and we are also gathering signatures still concurrently in the event that for any reason that we don't have enough signatures in accordance with the guidelines and rules from the Secretary of State's office, we'll be able to quickly provide that feedback and qualify before May 19th. And we like to do data analytics, because everything in the space that we're in now, if you're only in one space, whether it's in person, paper, or like if you are, then it's difficult to reach different audiences. And so, as I mentioned last month, that our viewership on Facebook was down last month, but I anticipated based on activities, events coming up that we would increase. And you see on the Facebook logo, 130% increase from the previous 30 days in viewership, 54 new followers. And then we have the demographic and age range. We see an uptick in our below 45 age range, which is a target for our campaign. And I definitely respect the 8 unfollowers. I It's difficult. We call it political fatigue. We also call it not aligning with with our political campaign. We understand that no one's we're not going to get 100% of the voters in the district, but we're thankful for those that also subscribed and then decided at a later time they wanted to unfollow. Hopefully by election day, we would have earned the followership or at least the vote for those individuals. We are across this space. I won't go into detail on any of the other ones, but we've seen upticks in all of these different spaces, from YouTube to Instagram, and also the only downtick was in our website for purchasing merchandise. And so, but we have no shortage of demand for merchandise, and we are grateful for those that purchase and for those that are asking on demand for merchandise. We understand that based on the environment that we're in, there's an affordability crisis. That even though our merchandise is marked at price, that there are individuals that just can't afford it. There will not be a person that supports our campaign that wants merchandise that will not receive it, and we are knowing that we'll have enough individuals that do have the funds to pay to purchase merchandise, so that we're able to replenish and give to other individuals. All right, the next slide is it's labeled as paid advertisement, and so what you'll see from the cute picture on, I don't know if it's your left or either your right, but we're rolling out or preparing to roll out new not media, new paid merchandise, paid advertisement in different forms. And so these are the two, the image and the U.S. Army veteran, are two of the different generated graphics that we have for upcoming launches, and we're excited about those. And then on the far side with shirts, we're currently testing and sampling some merchandise for to celebrate the United States 250th birthday. And we have had, again, huge success with our gray shirt merchandise. We still have white shirt merchandise as well. And again, we're just grateful and thankful for everyone all of those who have said that, hey, we want a t-shirt, from across, people that are in the district, but then also friends that are all across the United States that I have served with or have made friends with. There was one guy from California that I met at an event in Tuscaloosa, and he reached out and said, hey, I need your merchandise because I'm really eager and support your independent run for State Senate District 21. The merchandise I'll flag and highlight. We do have fans now. I was raised Baptist, and churches like fans. So, and people in general like fans too, but we do have fans that are available as part of our promotional items. And we also have a new version of our cups. The older version is a 16 ounce. We have a 20 ounce version that's getting ready to launch as part of our promo for in-person events that are upcoming, that we're definitely excited about. Other merchandise, we have these labels that go. People see my mug, my big mug, and people say, hey, can I get a mug? I'm like, nope, it's a label that goes on your mug. You already have a mug, then you can have the label as well. but those labels are available. They can go on folders. They can go on. They can be used as bumper stickers. And we've been doing a really nice job with pushing out the campaign, the yard signs. We also have the small 2.5 inch buttons on the right side, items that we say are for sale. But again, if all of these merchandise, if you want any of these merchandise items, you'll have one. Trust me. Is the clothing items that we do still have in stock and available. We thought that the sweaters and the hoodies were going to go out, and it's the weather, the changes in weather that we do have. Those items are still hot items. And then there's a certain demographic of age range of of young adults and teenagers that wear these sweaters and hoodies year round. They do. If you have kids, you know. And then I'll point your attention to the April engagements and events. There was a grand opening in Pickensville. We are honored and happy to have been invited to that event. There were several Easter egg events. Carrollton Reformed. There was also one in Gordo. I didn't get to make it to the one in Ethelsville, but would have wanted to have been there. There was another was labeled as a neighborhood block party in Tuscaloosa at one of the churches in Tuscaloosa that we were able to double, triple down to make it to that event as well. It was an afternoon event. Spring Fling Vance was a really exciting event. We had the opportunity to engage, to hear from residents in Vance, and also residents, that folks that lived in Brookwood as well. And it was a really great event, and we were happy to have taken part in creating memories to introduce ourselves to spring as we look towards summer. There was a school event, Carrollton, the District 3 race. I went out and expressed my support for the candidates, and was really one of the places that's on our map, the Church of the Highlands area, strategy purposes. But again, the two candidates that were in the race, we were closely watching, and we wished both candidates the best of luck as they ran their races, and look forward to further engagements with both the candidate and the elected official and their city councilmen in their respective roles in being community leaders. The civic education session, Carrollton, that was you'll see these as in series, is part of the passion on what I have in civic education in different spaces. Carrollton, there's Aliceville twice, and we look to host and start some of these civic education sessions in Tuscaloosa County as well. There aren't, I'm looking across, Pickens 10ville is definitely an error, but Pickens 10 does sound pretty cool. I will highlight the Lakeview Day, I think it was the 25th, the last Saturday in the month of April. That was another, again, a really great event. We had the opportunity to meet the kind folks in Lakeview. Some are from Brookwood, some were from Woodstock, some were from McCalla, and some even came up from Vance, I think. But again, able to hear about issues, concerns that folks do have in Lakeview. And we look forward to future engagements and discussions and conversations. And we're thankful and grateful for the warm welcome, both Lakeview and for Vance as well. Look forward to other engagements in other areas in Tuscaloosa County. And then the highlight section that we have for this month, again, it's a touch up from the previous month. And there's so much information that goes across in the media space and on TV that when I talked to one of the supporters, not supporters of the ground crew, but one of the leaders of our campaign team, and that individual said, well, I didn't even see the post on that we highlighted voter registration. It was a pickup from the previous session, but we added some graphics. We added registration information. So if you haven't or need information on registration to vote, one, the deadline for Alabama is May the 14th. That's for the state of Alabama. If you need additional information on how to register, if you're registered, check your voter registration. I would recommend that everyone at least once before deadline to check your voter registration and make sure that you're registered, make sure that your address is correct. The links for that information is all on the Elect Jody Minor Facebook page. There's a post in every link that you would need, including in the middle of this screen, sample ballots, whether you want Republican ballot or whether you want Democrat ballot. Both of those ballots are, the links for those ballots are also in the comments section of that post, which was a couple of days ago. And then one of the highlight items that I've also mentioned in a Facebook highlighted post, but I say Facebook, but then they go across Instagram, they go on YouTube, and it also goes on TikTok as well. It's the referendum on for Pickens County only, the referendum to basically it's not basically a serious. $10 is a lot of money for all of us in this affordability crisis, but a $10 addition, a $10 tag fee or tax that we will be voting on if you're a resident of Pickens County. What the $10 will be allotted for, it will be to sustain the current 2 ambulances that we do have. That's to sustain the 2 that we do have. Without what was done to get us there, I've thanked the commissioners for what they've done to get us from 0 to 2. I wasn't here. I didn't live here during the COVID pandemic. It's actually really nice. I was in Germany, but anyway. But when the hospital closed in 2020, the support in the county eventually went to no ambulance, and the commissioners, led by Commissioner Fuller, did a really great job in getting us to 2 ambulances. Won't go through the details. We have to. The point to this is that work to get funded for 2 was what I would call, in somewhat of a slang term, was patchwork. It was grant money. There was a one-time grant, if I'm not mistaken, that was allocated to allow us to get to 2 ambulances. In order to sustain with predictable funding would be the $10 addition to our tags that we purchase once a month. There have been questions on what if we did this, or what if we did that, or what if we do this, or what if we do that. We're at the best solution to allow us to sustain the 2 ambulances that we do have. And so I'm a yes vote. I'm thankful for the commissioners. I'm thankful for Representative Bolton for his leadership on this as well, for all of our elected officials for their leadership on this specific issue in Pickens County, because it's life or death. That's on the ballot for May 19th for Pickens County. On your regular ballot, and I've gone through this in different places. At the top of your ballot, you're determining your candidate for governor. On either one of the 2 tickets, lieutenant governors, there's public service commissioners. There's on the Republican ballot for Pickens County is the judges race between my friend John Russell and my friend John Morgan Owens that we look towards. And I love everybody. I love those 2 guys, and I really hate that they had to run against each other. But that's the nature of campaigns, and I have encouraged both just to run a good race. And so I'm in full support of giving anybody advice that would take it. But then again, it's up to an individual to run their own race. But that's the judges race in district judge race in Pickens County between those 2 of my friends. And there are other, I think I said Public Service Commission, the individuals that sit on a board that determines yes or no on utility rates. One, primarily what we're concerned about, but any regulations, guidelines, rules as pertain to utilities, this commission are the ones that vote to put those actions in place. I won't mention the 5-point plan in detail. Again, I will refer to the highlighted social media post on these significant dates. I will, because I always will, love to earn your vote on November 3rd to elect me as the next state senator for District 21. So there have been conversations about, I think it may have started with, I think I'll open up the floor if there are any questions, but conversations that have been specific about a area that I'm really, 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 really passionate about. That's why I'm in this space with civic education. You saw a lot of civic education on a previous engagement slide. Back when I was in grad school at George Washington University, when we had to write one of our culminating papers, we had these different topics that we could write on. I wrote my paper, and you can see it on the slide. We are our own enemies: the causes of partisan polarization in the United States. And this was the dates on here, June of 2016. And what I wrote about in that paper, one, gerrymandering, and we'll get to gerrymandering, but two, the impact and influence on money in politics, and and the third one, the impact of technology on our behaviors and thoughts too, that influences partisan polarization. Some may call it propaganda. But first up, I talked, on this slide for Citizens United, there was a Supreme Court decision, and you see the 5-4 decision that allowed for corporations and businesses to donate an unlimited amount of money into the campaign coffers for elected officials. What that has done is it has created an unbalanced effect on the advocacy from regular for regular folks and for politicians for advocating for businesses. So a company like an Alabama Power can give a candidate, through not necessarily directly, but through a political action committee or dark money, and unlimited, well, not dark money with Alabama Power. They have their own political action committee. They can donate money to any number of candidates. And if Alabama Power gives an elected official $10,000, there's an expectation. If the lobbyists say this is our strategy, and they say we're going to give this individual this amount of money, then the elected official they would have a financial obligation based on money donated to represent the interests of the business. Some may call it pay for play, but this Supreme Court decision of 2010 has led to the place where we're at now. If all you really have to do in why things are the way that they are, I go back to inauguration. Bezos was there, Zuckerberg was there, Elon was there, and the Google CEO was there. And they're all there, and they have their interests are aligned with, we want data centers. We want to be able to operate in states without having to pay taxes. And we want free reins on AI in the digital space. We don't want any changes with the social media platforms with policy. We want to be able to operate, build data centers in states, because you need big data centers if you're going to collect artificial intelligence information. And we want to pay no taxes. And they're all there. So this is where we're at now. That's the impact of the Citizens United decision of 2010. And then one topic that someone had asked about was the Supreme Court's decision with Scalise on last week. And I've talked, this specific has to do with this case, not specific to gerrymandering, but it goes back to voting rights. If you look on one slide, before the Voting Rights Act, the percentage of non-white voters that we had in mostly former enslaved states, Alabama, 19% of the people of mostly African Americans could vote before the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Look at Mississippi. 6.7% of the people in Mississippi that were non-white were voting before the Voting Rights Act of 1965. And what this essentially correlates to, we're specific to this slide. One point to highlight: this is almost 100 years from receiving voting rights in 1870. 1870 was the 15th Amendment. 15th Amendment was enacted and ratified by states in 1870. And almost 100 years later, there was 6.7% of the folks in Mississippi that could vote, that were non-white. That's how critical the Voting Rights Act of 1965 was at that time. Well, let's transition to where we're at now. Well, now we look at the numbers, voter turnout. And voter turnout, one, there can be voter suppression, but a lot of it really is just people not voting. In Alabama, the lowest voter turnout for a presidential campaign in 30 years. 3.8 million registered voters. This is registered. This isn't the ones that aren't registered. Registered voters, 2.263 million that voted. 1.5 million to 1.7 million that just didn't vote at all in 2024. $1.5 million that just didn't vote. This is where we're at. I would say focus the energy on what you're going to do. Both parties, there are more independent voters now than in a long time. You can do the research. You can Google it. And I've told officials in both parties, the beautiful thing about being me, is really that I can go to both party meetings. I go wherever the policy decisions are being made at, and trying to move both sides on specific issues. So we're not party based, we're policy based. And as an independent candidate, I can represent either side. I can hold both parties accountable where they need to be held accountable at, without fear of retribution from the party. But this is what I would say about the Supreme Court decision. There's outrage from voter rights advocates, and I'm well aware of the history. The patron saint of voting rights, John Lewis, told me in 2019 to start studying. So I know the history of it. And I know the history of the Supreme Courts. I know the history of the Supreme Courts from 1865 to 1900s to Brown versus Board. So the point though is I don't quite understand what we would have expected the Supreme Court to do, other than what the Supreme Court does. So I was kind of holding and talking elongated to see if there were any questions. The highlighted topics that we wanted to discuss are these two. And so then the question will become, if we talk about gerrymandering, what I call it is cracking and packing. I don't know if I call it cracking and packing. Oh, that's really, really messed up. So if you look at, I'm going to do this on the fly. All right. So the map. Gerrymandering is designed to dilute voting power from any particular block. And in the case that I described at first was with the great state of Alabama, because that's where that will be the legislature that if I earn the majority of the votes for District 21, that I will be making a decision on in voting for district maps. So if you see the map, I think we can see it now. State of Alabama, the black belt extends, the blue area, most of it going south. What you will notice, I call it cracking and packing. So when you pack in a district, what this looked like is the majority of African American votes in this area. And then if you notice, It goes through Stillman College area, all the way up through here, all the way to Birmingham. Right? Not the whole county, but just this area of Birmingham. Now, District 4, I was a fellow legislative staffer for Congressman Adderholt. This is District 4. And if you notice what District 4 does, District 4 goes all the way across to the other side of the state. Now District 5 could cover this area, but what that represents, what this does is the city of Huntsville is in this area right here, and there are minority voters in this area. So instead of putting the minority voters in this 5th district that will make it more competitive for the U.S. seat in District 5, you put it in District 4. Does that make sense? So you're diluting this demographic of voters here. So you essentially you're cracking up minority voters here. And you're packing in minority voters here. Minority meaning African American voters. African American voters. Now, on the other side, what we're doing in the state of Maryland, because they're a Democratic-led state, all of these districts, except 2 through 8, are all Democratic-led districts. And this District 1 is a Republican-led district. Now, because I just know, this area right here is known as the praying mantis. So I've wrote on this as a student at George Washington University. My point though is that I would want district that's as competitive as possible. When districts are competitive, the legislators have to run and earn votes, and you get policies that's best suited for the most amount of people. When you crack and when you pack, somebody's going to be underrepresented on either side of the aisle. So that would mean an independent commission to draw the lines across the United States for the states that don't have independent commissions. I don't want a Democrat majority or supermajority or a Republican majority or supermajority state legislature drawing maps, because it has only made our environment more hostile. I don't even have to listen to a demographic of voters if I'm a Republican in an R+20 district. I don't have to listen to Democratic voters. I want districts to be Republican +1 or Democrat +1, as many as we can. I want all of them to be swinging, ±3, ±2, ±1. But what that does, though, is it brings us back together. It helps us to reconcile, because you can't just not listen to one demographic of voters. And in that way, we get voter-determined districts, and not districts that are made up by state legislatures based on how they draw the maps. I don't want any state legislatures drawing maps. I would be in support of independent commissions. So that's the one, gerrymandering, U.S. versus not U.S. Louisiana versus Calais case, which would allow Louisiana to really all of the former enslaved states to lose the protected seats that were forced as part of the lack of voting rights from after 1877 all the way to 1965. The big difference being now we all do have the right to vote, and there's a huge demographic of folks, millions, that just decided for voter fatigue, not liking either of the candidates, that they're just not going to vote en masse. So I've always been a strong proponent of voting and voting rights, and I'll continue to be a strong advocate and supporter for voting rights, and in doing so to bond the Union back together, in the words of Abraham Lincoln. I'm going way over my time. I'm waiting to see if there are any questions. In order to bond us back together, we need states with independent commissions so that voters determine the districts and not pre-drawn by state legislatures. And in voter determined districts, if the current president there's 100,000 voters that voted for the president, and there's 50,000 that voted for the vice president, then the districts, based on the independent commission, the districts should be drawn equitably based on overall voter turnout by a state. Gerrymandering has no impact on the U.S. Senate seat because it's a statewide election, and it still goes back to voter turnout. I would compel any candidates that are on the ballot to explain how you're going to gain more voters other than saying how much you hate one party or why you should hate another party, and telling people that the world's on fire. The world's always on fire. The question is, what are you going to do to help people other than saying that you shouldn't vote for the other party and we're the best for you? You're only driving Lady Liberty into a rage from being yanked one way and then being yanked the other way. And she's not designed to be handled that way. That's why her chain is broken. She's designed to be free. So that's what I had to highlight for this month. Let me look. Let me see if we have. So that's all that we had. I always end by thanking what we call members of the ground crew. I'm a member of the ground crew. What I essentially, I say wherever we go, that we go together. There are people, like I mentioned before, that just purchase merchandise, and so we've had bulk stacks of merchandise being sent out to different places. Thankful for two sisters for allowing me to host a meet and greet at their restaurant in Pickensville. And also, some of the residences, the constituents from Brookwood that was at Lakeview Day. We can't do this without the help of everybody. We don't take donations from big businesses. We've made that decision before we even decided to launch a campaign. So everything that we do, one, we are an advocate for small business. We feel like communities thrive when small businesses thrive. So we're an advocate for small business. We're an advocate for the fire department. Said, hey, we are glad that we have somebody that will represent our interests in telling the truth and that we can trust. This is no knock on the candidate that I'm running against. This is just the feedback that we want somebody that, one, and our platform has been a 2T campaign. We're going to tell the truth and we're going to build trust. And beyond that, we're just going to see what the result's going to be. We're really excited about heading towards November. And we're grateful and thankful for everyone that's decided to contribute to our campaign. Whether it be donation, whether it be, hey, I really want a shirt, but I can't afford it. That's cool because I understand we're in an affordability crisis. And for those that said, you know what, I don't need merchandise, here's a donation, and give the merchandise to someone else that will be more worthy than I to wear it. I'm just grateful and thankful for each and every one of you. There's always something, and based on a conversation that I had with one of a fellow Pickens County native that's getting ready to be deployed to the Middle East, I will say to keep our service men and women in your prayers. No one voted in 2024 for another war. No one did. There's some friends in the United States Army and with the federal government that have said let's talk in person because they don't want to talk because we can't talk on the phone. And I know what that means. So keep our servicemen and women in your prayers. Also, family members that are living abroad. Not just servicemen and women, there's civilians that are abroad as well. We have U.S. citizens living in places that are one mistaken decision away from a world crisis. A world crisis. One wrong misinterpretation of any kind of move, and it could be really, really, really devastating for not just the United States and our servicemen and women who are in uniform, that elected voters didn't vote for another war. We voted for no foreign wars. So I'll ask you to keep the servicemen and women in prayers, all of those individuals, the leaders making decisions. Pray for our president, leaders of other nations, the folks that are appointed by the president. We pray for wisdom. We pray for empathy. We pray for compassion. We pray for guidance. We pray for leaders that will uphold the Constitution of the United States. Not to be misinterpreted that the leaders aren't, but just be praying for our leaders and for all of those that are impacted by an affordability crisis that started at COVID, that has continued to today with no alleviation. Thank you all for your time. I didn't see any questions, but I do thank you for your time, and I look forward to a exciting month of May. There are a lot of events. I didn't go through them. I ran out of time. I'm way past time. But a lot of events coming up in May in different places, and we look forward to continuing to run a good race. May God bless you. May God keep you. I love you all, and look forward to seeing you all out.